Lo que ayer parecía imposible o lo que algún día soñamos, ya se hizo realidad. Tenemos más formas de aprender, de trabajar y de conectarnos. Las distancias ya no nos limitan y la comunicación vence las fronteras. La información fluye, haciéndonos conscientes de la fragilidad de nuestro medio ambiente y las dificultades de este cambio de era. ¿Nos adaptaremos y sabremos ver y aprovechar estas nuevas oportunidades? Este es nuestro espíritu, nuestra forma de ver la vida, pasión por lo que se hace y trabaja.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Los que vieron el flyer que circuló invitando a esta conversación se habrán preguntado quién es el tipo que está con Chris Bannister. El que necesita presentación soy yo. Mi nombre es José Agustín Muñiz y soy el director de la Escuela de Periodismo y Comunicaciones de la Universidad Gabriela Mistral. A nombre de nuestra casa de estudios, de su escuela de posgrados, sus programas Advanced, les doy la bienvenida y agradezco que nos acompañen esta tarde. Esta conversación se transmite por Zoom, Instagram, Facebook Live, quedará publicada en el canal de YouTube de la Universidad Gabriela Mistral y es transmitida también en la Feria Panoramia para los postulantes a nuestra universidad. Los que nos ven a través de Zoom pueden hacer sus preguntas en el chat de la aplicación, en castellano o en inglés, y al final de su conversación con nosotros, Chris las va a responder. Chris Bannister, Chief Executive Officer, CEO de Wom en Colombia. No luce como un CEO tradicional de una empresa de telecomunicaciones porque no es un CEO tradicional y la empresa que lo hizo conocido en Chile tampoco lo es. Chris ha vivido en 11 países fuera de su Inglaterra natal: Singapur, Malasia y Vietnam. Estuvo en Suecia, Austria y luego en Polonia, en Nigeria, Azerbaiyán y Birmania. Luego vino a Chile y hoy nos acompaña desde Colombia. Casado y divorciado, sus dos hijos viven en el Reino Unido. Junto a ellos recorrió el país en bicicleta a razón de unos 140 kilómetros al día. Ama subir volcanes y, según testigos, se le vio trepar varios de los ubicados en la zona norte de nuestro país. En una entrevista, Chris dijo que mide su éxito y el de las compañías para las que trabaja por los valores que se viven en ella. Ha dicho, y cito, hago el trabajo pesado, el de iniciación, la fase de transformación, establecer la cultura de la empresa, asegurarme de que todos la conozcan y la vivan. Una vez que lo logro o si veo que no aporto valor, lo dejo. Los CEOs no se cambian a sí mismos, no cambian y ya no son parte de las soluciones, sino que se convierten en el problema. De la cita. También dijo en otra entrevista, tengo un título de química de una universidad de tercer orden y nací en un pueblo minero cerca de Manchester. No creo que mi éxito en Chile tenga que ver con el no haber ido a las 10 mejores escuelas o a las 3 mejores universidades. Una frase que es una provocación directa al club de los gerentes y ejecutivos nacionales exitosos. Una provocación muy en la línea con la actitud corporativa de la empresa que lo hizo conocido en Chile y le dio el título de Tío Wom. Chris, thank you very much for being here with us today. You may start with your presentation right now, and we are going to the questions afterwards.
Great. Welcome, everyone. First of all, well, my first thing is to apologize. Can you believe after 5 years living in Chile, after 18 months living in Colombia, still nada Spanish? But I believe there is a translation, so hopefully everyone on the video can actually understand my Wigan accent. The next thing I'd like to say is a big thank you to the Gabriela Mistral University, and in particular, Victoria Rojas. It's a great opportunity for me to communicate again to the Chilean student. And I've got a very strong connection with Chile still. My partner's Chilean, so it's good to be able to have the opportunity to speak to some of you. Tonight, I want to talk to you probably for about 45 minutes, if that's okay, and then we'll ask some questions. I always think the best part for yourselves is to ask me questions, and to be perfectly honest with you, the best part for me is to listen and try to answer your questions. But we've got about a 45 minute presentation. just to take you through a little bit of what I entitled How to Create a Kick-Ass Company. You know, why do some companies fail? Why do some succeed? So hopefully I can answer some of your questions, and hopefully I'll give you a little bit of insight to how we've done it in Chile and how we intend to do it here in Colombia now. You've just had a pretty good intro to myself, but I'd probably like to give you a few words about myself. I'm 61. I sometimes can't believe I'm 61. I'd probably say 61 in age and about 12 in mentality. And that's probably some of the success, is how do you keep fresh? A little bit of my background, which you just had. This is a map of the countries that I've actually done. Most of the people on this phone call, on this video call, are probably aware of my experience and my project in Chile. That was only one of 11 that I've actually done. I've been so lucky that in the last 30 years, I've managed to live in 11 countries and see and feel and experience 11 different cultures. Each of those cultures has added significant value to myself. I've learned so much. I think I'm probably one of the few people in the telecom space that has worked in primarily startup organizations, which is the high risk, high adrenaline phase of any telco. And I've done that across the globe. As you can see, from, as it was mentioned, Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia. I launched the world's first 3G operation in the world in Sweden in 2003. That was before Facebook, before Instagram, before the iPhone. And I think most of you on this video call will probably be thinking, was there anything before the iPhone? Well, yeah, 3G was started in 2003. And we had to write the code to make content happen. That was something which I learned a lot of. But those countries that I've worked, I've covered Christian countries, Muslim countries, Buddhist countries, rich countries and poor countries. And in every one of those countries, I've managed to learn and develop and see the positivity of humanity. And sometimes we forget, especially when we're listening to CNN or BBC World, we tend to only see the negativity of humanity. But I'm really pleased that my global experience has taught me the positivity of humanity. And more importantly, the talent that actually exists in every country. Whether you're talking of high-tech Sweden and Singapore, which are two very rich countries, or low, tough countries like Nigeria, the talent exists. The secret is to make that talent perform and make that talent work as a team collectively. In Chile, you know as Wom. And I think, as it was mentioned in the intro, I think I got the nickname Tío Wom. Personally, I was hoping for George Clooney, but I ended up being called Tío Wom. Not 100% certain how that came about, but Wom Chile was owned by a company called Novator. And I first started with Novator back in Poland, which is where the European purple color is. And so I've been with Novator for 15 years. Now, the beauty of Novator is there's only 10 people in the whole of Novator. There is no big corporate group. There is no what I call Mexico or Madrid or a Chilean rich family called Entel. That doesn't exist. It's 10 people, 5 of them from Iceland. How does a company with only 10 people compete with the likes of Claro and Movistar, the big global monsters? And this, hopefully during today, you'll ask me some questions or I'll answer some of them during the presentation. The beauty of Novotel and our style is one of responsiveness, it's one of focus, and more importantly, it's one of developing talent and allowing that talent to actually perform. So that's a little bit about myself. As I've already said, it's about focus. Most CEOs, if I'm perfectly truthful with you, massively overcomplicate the issue. Really just confuse themselves, confuse the staff, confuse the consumer. And they do that primarily to justify the exorbitant salaries that they get paid. They justify it for the big offices. We don't have any offices. This is a meeting room I'm in. They justify it because they want to feel elite and they want to feel superior. So they confuse and complicate the issue. But it really comes down to just 3 activities. The culture of the company. Can you create an organization that wants to perform? Can you create a company where the people feel of value? Can you create a company of 2,000 people that we had in Chile that every day believe in the company's values? And that's, you tie those people together by the organizational culture. Once you have that culture and develop it, you then need to communicate it. And that's called the brand. And the brand isn't some standalone entity. The brand is not something that your 2,000 people don't recognize. The brand is something they feel and they touch every single day when they come to the office, or even when they're on a Zoom call. They should feel the brand. It's not something that lives on TV. It's something that lives here in the heart. Yeah, we've got a T-shirt. You can see it. And on the T-shirt, it's got our values. And the big value, fuck the dark side. Every day, that's the goal. To do it differently. To take the elite leaders of the dark side and to turn it on its head. That's what the brand should communicate, but the culture of the organization needs to believe it can do that and wants to do that. And then the last secret is the customer. And that feeling of how do you focus on the customer? How do you have an intensity of the customer? How does the customer, 18 million people in Chile, 50 million people in Colombia, how does those 50 million people feel the culture of the 2,000 people? And they feel it through the brand. And that needs to come through with every decision we make, every advert we make, and every body needs to walk the talk of the culture, and then the brand needs to communicate it. The culture of the organization is built on values. For truthful, my LinkedIn account, it's full of people talking about values. And yes, we need to talk about it. Yes, we need to print it on T-shirts. But more importantly, the values that we have need to be seen and touched and felt with every business process that we write. Every decision that we make should live the values. Most importantly, the management team and the CEO in particular must live the values, and the 2,000 people must live those values. There's a saying in startup companies that 75% of all startup companies fail. It's a pretty good metric that people talk about. As I was saying, Chile was my 10th, Colombia is my 11th. I'm pleased to say all 10, and I'm pretty comfortable Colombia will make it the 11th, are successful. Every one of them is still operational. Every one of them is winning customers. 2 of them have done successful IPOs. 1 of them has bought an incumbent, but all of them are successful. Why? Why, when companies like Nextel or VTO failed in mobile, or Avantel failed here in Colombia, why has the last 10 that I've done been successful? Why do 75% normally fail, but yet the 10 I've done, and hopefully the one I'm doing, I've succeeded? And it's because of the values and the culture that is created by the team. And that starts by the leadership from the management team, by setting values that the company must actively communicate and actively live. If it's so easy, why do people not do it? Why do other companies not live the values? It's because they do things like this. There's too many of you to ask, do you know which mission statement this is? This is Intel's mission statement. Most people probably on the video cover are unaware of that. If I'm truthful, I think most people in Intel are completely unaware of what their mission is. You've only just got to read it and you think, what the hell does that mean? Who would want to get behind such a mission statement? It means nothing to the shop person living in Los Angeles or living in Conception and going to a shop every day. Are they going to transform society? How do they transform society? That is your typical dark side mission statement. And there's usually in any large dark side company, only 3 people that actually know what the mission statement is. The first one tends to be the HR person, because he or she has to talk, this is our mission. We're going to transform society. We're going to connect everyone. And the candidates usually think, yawn, yawn, yawn. The second person who knows what the mission statement of large companies are is the CEO. They have to communicate every quarter. Anthony Bauchi would be a classic. Intel's mission statement, we're going to transform society. Oh yeah. And he says that every quarter to the shareholders. So he knows what the mission statement is. And the last person who knows is the CFO. The CFO knows the mission statement because he thinks, shit, how much did I pay McKinsey to come up with that bullshit? Because that's the 3 people that are aware. Only, not the 4,000 or 5,000 that live in Intel, just those 3. But a company that lives its values, and a company that communicates its values, and a company that is managed by its values doesn't have a mission statement. We don't need one, because every day we're just going to live our values. And it's the talent that creates the success. It's not the number of base stations or the number of shops you have. Anyone can build base stations. Anyone can build shops. It's the talent that builds those base stations, those antennas, the talent that works in those shops that creates a successful company. And that's why 10 of my last 10 have been successful. Because I've not had a mission statement. I've communicated to everyone as real people. And we've communicated and lived the values of the organization. Our values here, which are very similar to the values that we had in Chile. One is being brave. Now, when I say we live our values, we recruit people who live our values. Being brave, well, to be honest, we put our money where our mouth is. If you take Chile, I flew into Chile December the 12th, 2014. I was there for 3 days. Do we look to buy Nextel or not? I looked at the competition, they looked weak. I looked at the prices, they were disgustingly high. I looked at the brands, nobody liked Movistar, Claro. They actually did quite like Entel. But where does the bravery come? We put $650 million US of our own money into an investment when nobody could speak Spanish. Nobody had been to Latin America. And we did that in 3 days because we sensed that Chile was right for our type of business. We felt that 18 million people in Chile were wanting a different type of company. They wanted a company that lives it and walks the talk of its values. So we didn't go to the shareholders and borrow from the corporate pot in Mexico or Madrid. We actually put our hands in our pockets and invested $650 million US. And we did that knowing Nextel had failed and VTR had failed. But we thought we can succeed. We were brave enough. So with that value, we started to recruit people. And let's be honest, in 2015, nobody had heard of Wom. Nobody had heard of Novator. So every person that joined me in 2015, in January, when I started, was really brave. Everybody left an existing company and wanted to be part of something new. So everybody also was brave, not only us and the shareholders, but that bravery came through. In Colombia, we're investing $1 billion US in a pandemic. That's brave. And as I said, we expect our people to be brave. We expect everything we do to be brave. We expect everything we do to be edgy, because we are taking the risk ourselves, and that shows in every decision we make, and that shows in the people that I recruit here. I now recruit 2,000 people also in Colombia in a pandemic. Passion. This is an interesting one. It's not just a tattoo. For those of you in Chile, this was the first tattoo I had. This is a Viking symbol. It means where there is a will, there's a way, and then the writing says, keep the passion. Passion can easily be seen and felt as, woo! Let's have a party, let's be passionate, let's shout, let's scream. And as I said to my Chilean team and now my Colombian team, every value has a yin and a yang. And yes, it is about being excited. It is about being energetic every day. But it's also having a passion for the detail, about being intense about, is the billing process working correctly? Are we building base stations cheaper, better, quicker, faster than anyone else? How do we do it different? Having a passion for the customer. That's also a passion. But I can't deny it. Most people believe passion is about activity, energy, shouting, screaming, showing how lively they can be. And a lot of people confuse passion, or they confuse activity with action. And one of the things I've got to do as a CEO is to make sure that people understand these values, the yin and the yang of these values. So many people I see, and it's certainly true in some of the small startups that I see, they do so much activity. Every day they have meetings. Every day they have a better, more interesting, more intricate PowerPoint slideshow. And they really do a lot of activity, but they don't do any action. They confuse activity with action because they're passionate about what they're doing. That's the biggest mistake I've seen in a lot of small entrepreneurs, is that confusion between activity. I'm busy, I'm in a meeting, I'm talking to people, I'm doing PowerPoints. What's your KPIs? Is your performance improved? What have you done today? What did you change today? Don't confuse activity with action, and don't confuse passion with shouting and screaming. Passion is being passionate about getting shit done. Passion is about making a difference, the detail. So when you walk into one of the shops, you can feel the passion because the salesperson smiles, because the salesperson introduces himself. That's passion. It sometimes can be quite boring. It's not just all fun. That's one of the challenges I have when we come into a company and we say we want to live the values. I remove about 25 people a month already in Colombia because they don't live the values. They confuse activity with action. But they don't know that. We tell them, we train them, we support them, but some people just carry on confusing that message. And so there's always a yin and a yang. And everybody, when they look at the values, must understand that corporate culture of both. Commitment. We were committed in Chile. We were committed to get 25% market share. Now, I remember saying to my Chilean team when I first arrived, what do you need to get 25% market share? And every one of them said, it's impossible. We can't get 25% market share. We can't compete with Claro, with Movistar, with Entel, owned by one of the richest families in Chile. It's impossible, Chris. We can't do it. And I didn't say, could you do it? I said, what do you need to do it? What commitment do you need? And then we came up with, well, I need 650 million US dollars. I need 200 shops. I need 2,000 people. Okay, you've got it. Now, I need your commitment that those 2,000 people are going to live the values. I need your commitment you're going to manage those people with respect, that you're going to listen to those people, that you're going to empower those people, that you're going to be committed to the customer. Again, a yin and a yang in the values. We showed our commitment to shareholders by providing the $650 million US. We showed commitment by recruiting the 200 people. Here in Colombia, I committed to the government that I would build in 674 unconnected villages. I think there are some Colombians on the line, but for those in Chile who are not aware, but I'm sure most of you are, Colombia is a big country. It's got some tough areas. It's got some insecure areas. And yet we committed to say we would connect 674 villages that had never been connected before. We committed that to the government. We actually also put a $354 million US bond to support our commitment that if we didn't deliver that, the government could take our money away. Not only did we say we were going to deliver it, we said we were going to deliver it in 12 months. Whoa! Most people, Claro, Tío, Movistar, thought we were crazy. This is Colombia. The guys obviously don't know there are some really insecure places that they've got to build network. Antennas 45 meters high, through the jungle, through swamps. But we were committed to do it. And I'm pleased to say on May the 5th, 12 months after I got my license, 12 months into a pandemic, I met my commitments to the Colombian government in only 12 months. So that's commitment from the shareholders and from the leadership. That commitment feeds into our values and feeds into my 2,000 staff here in Colombia. And that commitment is what drives the success and the focus of the organization. The next one is honesty. It's a really tough one for most big businesses to meet. It seems to be incredibly tough for telcos to meet. They seem to always have shitty little small print that tricks the consumer, small print that confuses the consumer, poor customer services. Also, big businesses tend not to be fully honest with the people. And that dishonesty creates mistrust. That dishonesty creates office politics. I'm not going to share information with you. I'm going to keep it myself because if I have more information with you, I'm king. But honesty is about sharing information. I shopped my legal department and my finance department in Chile and done the same here in Colombia. Every 4 hours, about 250, 300 people receive an SMS with the gross ads and the customer numbers and the KPIs. Because that's being honest with my staff about how are we doing. My legal department and finance department would say, that's crazy, you're going to tell that information to Claro, Movistar, Entel, or Tigo here in Colombia. But it's honest. How can I expect people working 1,000 kilometers away from Santiago or 600 kilometers away from Bogota to feel part of the organization if I don't give them the company performance every 4 hours? That allows them to be part of the decision making. It allows them to make the decisions. But it's being honest. An example of my view of honesty and treating people with respect. When I did the first TVC with my tattoo over in New York, it was a 10-hour flight from Santiago to New York. Our reality is I'm going there to have a tattoo and to party. My brand guy, a guy called Alvaro at the time, was going over there to work, and he was nervous as hell. It's the biggest brand launch that Chile has ever had. It's the biggest brand launch he had ever managed himself. And he's with a CEO. So we step onto the plane and I sit down at the front. Alvaro walks to the back. He's in economy. What the hell? I'm going to party. I don't need to sleep. Alvaro's stressed as hell. So we swapped seats. Because the honesty is, he needed to sleep. I didn't. We landed in New York. I rang Sandra, my HR director. I said, what's our travel policy? And surprisingly, the travel policy is, if you're C-level, you go business class. If you're a working bee and responsible, you go in economy. And that's probably the same of every large organization in Chile and Colombia and Europe and America. That's the policy. It's not based on honesty. It's based on hierarchy. So anyway, by the time the 3-day TVC shoot had finished, we changed the travel policy. And Alvaro and I flew back to Santiago in business class. And we changed the policy that says, if it's more than 4 hours, everybody flies business class. If it's less than 4 hours, everybody, including the CEO, flies economy. That's honest. That is living the values. Most CEOs don't. Most CEOs live in the bubble. They live in the executive suite. And that's why most businesses fail. Give you another pertinent example. 6 months before I launched Wom Chile, Entel Chile had actually purchased Nextel Peru. And they did it 6 months before. Now this is Entel, all the resources in the world. Everybody can speak Spanish. Peru's only across the road. So Entel did the same as we did in Chile. But Entel's success has been far below Wom's success, despite having all the expertise, despite putting 300 Chileans into the Peruvian operation. What's the difference? I'll give you one big difference. Nextel, who I bought and Entel bought, look, they had huge offices. So in Chile, Nextel's office was, of course, in downtown in the big tower blocks. Cost a fortune. $350,000 rent per month. Because we live our values, we closed that office down within 7 days. And we moved to where the operational people were, into Rosas. Everybody from Chile knows where Rosas is. And we moved the lawyers, we moved the directors, and put them into Rosas. And then we could say, we need to focus on winning a price war. We need to focus on the consumer. We need to focus on building 2,000 people who live our values. Until Peru moved into the huge office block in downtown expensive Lima. How do you say to the Peruvian organization, we've got to be cost conscious, but I'll recruit 300 Chileans on expat salaries and I'll stay in this expensive office? Oh, but by the way, could you prepare for a price war? You can't do that honestly. You have to live the values. And that's why Wom Chile is bigger than Claro, and Wom Chile is 23% market share in 5 years. We live our values. And there are those countless examples where living the values creates that success, creates that culture of performance, creates that culture of what can I do today? It creates that culture where 2,000 people want to work and perform better. They want to change Colombia. They want to change Chile. The biggest, most important statistic that I achieved in Chile was not being bigger than Claro, was not being cash flow positive after 3 years. It was the fact that 95% of my staff were proud to work for Wom. Now, when people are proud to work for the organization, they turn up. When people are proud to work for the organization because that organization lives its values, and you sat in a shop in Los Angeles or Calimar, you smile. You want to serve the customer because you've got 2,000 people living the values. And that makes a difference. That makes a difference when the customer walks in. And the customer feels that difference and can feel that intimacy and can feel that passion, that commitment, that honesty, and that bravery. And that means the customers want to belong to that as well. You put that to most large organizations who people turn up for a salary. They turn up to pay the rent. They turn up to have a chat with the mates. Because most companies have a mission statement to transform society and connect. And that means fuck all to the person living and working in the shop. You don't know whether you've connected society today. You know you've picked up your salary. Whereas if you're working for a company that lives its values, and those values come through every day, in every decision, in the brand, you know, have you been honest today? Or did you try to be a bit sneaky? You know whether you've been brave today. Did you go out in the street and hand out the flyers, the brochures? Did you try to attract more customers? You know whether you've been that. You know whether you've been passionate about helping a customer over a problem. You know. You have no idea whether you help to connect society. And it's about everybody feeling those values. That's what creates a successful, kick-ass company. The brand. What I've just told you about in the last 30 minutes, that's what the brand is. It's not a logo. It's not a color. It's not a word. It's that culture. Whether I'm in Poland, Chile, or Colombia, there is only one rule when it comes to the brand. No smiling people on a beach. The brand should communicate the culture. The brand should communicate interest. The brand should communicate word of mouth. It should get people talking. Most people come up with smiling people on a beach shit, which is so bland, it does not transform a society. It does not inspire 2,000 people. A brand is, oh, it's pretty nice, aspirational people wearing a bikini. No, it isn't. It should be about making people think. It should be making people aspire to be part of it. More importantly, it should be communicating the values of the company to my 2,000 staff. When Sebastian from Chile or Herman, my CMO here in Colombia, when they come to me with a TVC concept or campaign, the first thing I think about is not the 18 million people in Chile or the 50 million people in Colombia. The first thing I think about, what will my staff think? Will this communicate to them what they see every day in the office or in the shop? Smiling people on a beach just don't cut it. A brand has to make you think. I'll give you two examples. One of them's from Chile, and one is from Poland. Polish one, it was a day like this, about 7 o'clock at night. I was going to launch in 3 weeks' time. My CMO, he was called Jacek Beliski. He comes over to me with his laptop. I said, what do you think of this? This is going to be the launch poster. This is going to be the iconic poster that is going to transform Poland. And I looked at it, and it was a beautiful, beautiful Polish lady. Long blonde hair, not many clothes on. It was before Me Too. And she had beautiful blue eyes. And you could see her hand, beautiful hand. And she'd cut her fingers off. And blood was gushing. And to be honest, it looked pretty bad. And I said to Jacek, okay, if we're going to use that imagery, she's got to be beautiful, she's got to have gorgeous eyes, and it's got to be really gruesome. And the message was, how many minutes, this was before gigabits, how many minutes does your operator give you? And it was, cut her fingers off, 2 minutes to count. It made you think. 3 weeks roll by and we launch. And this poster, oh my God, it was so gruesome. She was beautiful. She had beautiful blue eyes. But it was gruesome with the blood coming out. And everybody talked about, what the hell are these guys on? We weren't called Wom, we were called Play. Now, it got people talking. Are they a telco? I thought they were a telco. Who are they? What are they doing? But it got people talking about us. Roll the clock forward 2 years. Now, in 2 years' time, in 2 years, Poland won the Euro football championship contest. But they didn't have enough money to build roads and hotels. So they needed to go, the president of Poland, a guy called Donald Tusk, needed to go to Beijing to lend money, to borrow money. So he looked around, which of the business leaders have we got that have borrowed the most money from China? And that was me. So I went over and he asked me to go on his jet to Beijing. So I went on his jet. And as I met him, the private government jet of Poland, as I met him, he put his hands out and said, oh, this is Chris Bannister. He said, cut fingers. The president of the country knew my launch advert. It worked. It got people talking. It was memorable. Smiling people on the beach, don't cut it. And that's the important thing of a brand. Never be boring. We spend 25 million US dollars as a company on brand. It should mean something. It should get people to sit up and think, and it should say what the culture of the company is. This was what I did last night. Everyone's seen Ronaldo. This got thousands of views on my personal LinkedIn, 24,000 views. Timing was great, relevance was great, and it was engaging. I might get sued from Ronaldo, but wow, it fitted who we are. That's about branding, getting people to think, getting people to act, getting people to do it now. This is the video that we launched here with. I don't know if I can show it.
Te dijeron yo te colaboro y no te colaboraron. Llamaste a reclamar y la letra pequeña te sacaron. Pagas muchos datos y no los ves, pero lo que nunca falta es la factura al fin de mes. Te ofrecen poder pero te venden. Son los mejores amigos de su propia histeria. Ya son muchos años maltratando el cambio, llenando sus bolsillos y sin nada a cambio. No tenemos miedo, intentes pararnos, demandando, alegando, no van a sacarnos. Invirtiendo sus millones en la guerra al cambio. ¿Quieres algo honesto? Y eso es nuestro manifiesto. Somos los más grandes, pero sí los más valientes. El compromiso aquí en la piel y no solo en un papel. Se viene la alternativa, se acabó la cantaleta, ya llegó aquí la pasión y esto que se llama WOM. Calma pueblo, que aquí estoy yo. Lo que no dices lo digo yo. Lo que sientes tú, lo siento yo. Porque yo soy como tú eres como yo. WOM, mereces más.
For you living in Chile, that probably doesn't seem indifferent anymore. 5 years later, WOM changed the advertising face. In Colombia, that's different. The Ronaldo advert is different. Customer service is my last pillar that we need to focus on. This one I'll keep short, but it is very important. We're going to invest $1 billion. We're going to recruit 2,500 jobs, and we're going to reach 25% market share. And our commitment, our brave statement, our passion, and our honesty says we're going to charge customers what they deserve to be charged. Can you believe Chile was the cheapest in Latin America up until 8 weeks ago? Colombia was the 15th most expensive country in Latin America until 8 weeks ago. I'm pleased to say Colombia is now cheaper than Chile. That was our commitment. We've committed to connect the unconnected. We will go where no other telco will go. We will communicate the way no other telco will communicate. We will change the face of telecommunications. The dark side, I've now got someone that they need to compete with. It worked fantastic in Chile. In 2015, when we launched WOM in Chile, your average Chilean was using 1 gigabit per month. Colombia in 2015 was using 1.1 gigabit per month, more than Chile. 5 years later, the average Chilean uses 10 gigabits a month. Your average Colombian can only afford to use 2. That's what WOM Chile did in Chile. 10 gigabits a month was unheard of in 2015. 10 gigabits a month in Colombia today is also out of reach until 8 weeks ago. That's customer service. That's listening to the customer. But you can only do that when you've got the right culture, when you've got the right performance, when you've got the right focus. And that's what we did in Chile. That's what we're doing here in Colombia. And that's what made 10 and hopefully 11 companies in every part of the world successful. And that is how you create a kick-ass company. Culture, brand, customer. Those 3 things. Implementation, implementation, implementation. By 2,000 committed people living the values. In COVID-19, this is what we did. We acquired the spectrum here in Colombia in May 2020. I arrived in January 2020. We started to build a team. We got bigger. We started to plan. We even acquired a company which was in Chapter 11. We started doing all this on Zoom. If you would have said to me, despite me doing it 10 times, could I do this on Zoom? If you would have said that to me in March last year, I would have said, absolutely not. You cannot build a company over Zoom. But we did. We're now 2,000 Wommers. This slide's out of date. We're not 1,800 anymore. 2,000 people in 12 months of recruiting, 9 months of which was over Zoom. We built 1,200 sites over Zoom. We built the sites. We connected 520 communities which are in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Amazonian jungle. We built 135 shops, all by 1,800 Wommers who every day believe in the values, because every day they feel the values. Oops. We changed the name and we changed the rules of the game in Chile. We changed it in Poland, changed it in Sweden. We'll change it here in Colombia. It's not about copying the dark side. It's not about having hierarchies and big offices and executive suites. It's about changing the rules of the game and living the values. That's what creates a kick-ass company. And as you said, we'll keep on doing epic shit. That's my little sermon over. I'd like to take some questions if possible.
Thank you very much, Chris. We have a lot of questions from our audience today. Thank you very much. And the first one is from Pablo Hernandez. Pablo Hernandez wants to know, when you talk about brand, the focus is on the clients or in the collaborators? Because in the end, they are the ones who have to embody, to live the expected change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on the values of the company, which the collaborators, which is my 2,000 people, and my partners in the brand agency, the logistics company, the call center, what motivates them? What do they believe? So the brand has to resonate with the values of the company so that the staff, the 2,000 people, believe. If you see something on TV, cool, trendy, but you don't see it in the office, it's a lie. And therefore your collaborators don't believe it. And if your collaborators don't believe it, if your shop people, if my 1,500 people in the shops see something on TV that they don't feel in the business processes, they won't believe it, and that belief won't go to the customer. So the most important part is my collaborators when I'm building the brand.
Perfect.
Next question.
Luis Escobar. So, as the company builds up from the people and their culture, would you say that WOM is a different company in Colombia and Chile, assuming that Chileans are different from Colombians?
To be honest, we actually looked at a different name here in Colombia, and the brand values and a lot of the corporate, the business culture does resonate. The values are actually different here. In Chile, we actually have the word innovation. And I came up with the values in Chile and in Colombia by involving the management team and then involving 50 people from around the organization. What values do you want to live? In the three that were the same were honesty, bravery, and passion. In Chile, people said innovative. Here, commitment. And the reason it was different here, so many politicians, so many business leaders are just not committed to Colombia. They don't deliver the words that they say they're going to deliver. So my people here wanted commitment. In Chile, they wanted innovation. Because companies were stagnant in Chile. Here, they wanted commitment as the values, and that was a big difference. And that's why it was so important for me to meet my commitment to connect the villages which we'd promised in 12 months. So my own staff could see, wow, We don't just talk the shit, we deliver the shit. And that is important. But we developed, they're very similar. The office style, you can maybe see this at the back. But the values are different. And that commitment one was a big, strong one in my Colombian team, because they are so used to being disappointed from the political leaders and the business leaders that they wanted that as part of the value. So there was a difference there. But a lot of the management style is the same, but the level of commitment is different. Okay, next one.
Thank you. Orlando Rojas wants to know, is establishing protocols and procedures compatible with living the values of the organization? Where is the key? Working with the right people or having the proper protocols and procedures?
Great question, because I'm relatively, we only launched 8 weeks ago. If I'm perfectly truthful with you, my operational procedures are not as good as they should be because of the scale of growth. I would say what is needed is what I call curiosity by my management team and by my directors. That curiosity is the processes correct? Is the processes robust enough? And you need curiosity to drive that. You have to live, you cannot develop a process that is not part of the values. You have to see, the people in the shop, and I always use the shop people because they're out there. They get paid about $400, $500 a month. They're not part of a lot of the decision making, but they have to deal with the business processes. They have to realize that the business processes are honest, that they're not there to trick the customer, that they are passionate about the customer services, that they are brave. We take a risk. We might actually lower our credit limits to allow people to come on, especially if you're living in sector 1 or sector 2, or in some of the tough areas of Chile. And so that's where the combination of the business process and the values need to be the same. But the big thing is people need to be curious to drive down to those business processes. Are they meeting the values? Is it passionate about the customer? Is it brave and taking a risk? Is it honest? And is it committed to changing Colombia? So that curiosity is important. And no, I do not see a difference between living the values and business processes. They have to be the same.
Perfect. I love this question because it's the problem that every communication department in the world faces every day. You mentioned KPI, indicadores claves de gestión. How can you put a KPI on commitment or honesty? I mean, I could have the word tattooed on my arm, but it doesn't mean that I'm honest or committed with the company.
No. Again, it's a lot of our business decisions would go through, the big decisions have to go through the management team. And it's relatively straightforward. Let's take business travel for the CEO. Is that honest? Is the travel policy honest if the guy who's doing the work, as I did the example, goes in economy, the guy who's going to party because he's a CEO goes into business class? That's not honest. Yeah. Is it honest to tie a handset to an AirTag and to break regulations? No. But some of the dark side used to do that before WOM launched. So that's why that honesty needs to be coming through to your KPIs. Yeah. Do you fool yourself if you don't pay your people for the right gross ads? You don't pay your dealers for giving you a customer. You try to trick him. That's not honest. And that's why I say your KPIs need to be really honest. You have to look yourself in the mirror to say, are these business processes honest? Are these KPIs honestly reflecting my performance? Or am I fooling the shareholders? Am I fooling my staff?
Not myself.
Yeah. One of the big things
to cheat on oneself. with KPIs?
Yeah, one of the big ones, and honesty is an interesting one. You turn around there, honestly, I said the yin and the yang. We all do business performance appraisals of our people. Do you do it honestly? Do you really tell someone you're actually performing poorly? That PowerPoint slideshow that you did was really bad. Most people, and especially in LATAM, if I'm perfectly true with you, they don't like conflict. They don't like to be told, or they don't like to say to one of the staff, that was bad. Honesty doesn't mean always being nice. And the KPIs are not always good. As I said, I've removed about 20 to 30 people a month. We did it in Chile, we're doing it here in Colombia, because they're not living the values. Now, those are because they're not passionate about the customer. They're not honest with the receipts that they receive. They're not committed to customer services. And if you're not meeting those KPIs, you're not meeting the values, you should be removed. Before you remove, you should be educated, trained, supported, and if you still don't change and you don't live the values every day, removed. Now, the KPIs are the same. Are they honest? Are they reflecting honestly the performance of me as an individual to the shareholders, my boss? And is the salesperson in La Serena, delivering me the right KPIs, or not being honest, or not being committed? That's where the KPIs and again the values are very much aligned.
That's true. Thank you. Luis Marambio wants to know, what do you think of outsourcing and subcontracting of jobs when the focus is to live the culture of the company with the benefits, the salaries, and feeling part of something larger than our daily lives?
Another great question. I'll give you two examples. I keep thinking I should outsource my network. A lot of people outsource their network services. And you go to a Huawei or Ericsson or Nokia and you say, okay, can you manage my network better than me? Better meaning the same performance and cheaper. And in 30 years, I've never met someone who can do that. Because if I can't manage the process better than Ericsson or Nokia or Huawei, what the hell are my management team doing? Another good one, most people here in Colombia, and I think it's true, but my 61-year-old brain may have got it wrong. A lot of people outsource the salespeople because it's cheaper to have someone manage them on a stick and beat them up every day, because they don't want to manage, let's call it, relatively junior positions. And it's easier to outsource it and manage a contract. We don't. 100% of my 1,200 people here in Colombia, and the vast majority, I think even now, of the salespeople in Chile are actually on the payroll. They get health benefits. They become part of the company. Because I believe passionately, if I cannot, and for that read my CSO and read my salespeople, cannot manage the people better and make them more committed than somebody else, then I'm not doing my core job. I've just had an interview with a bank before this conversation, and they asked me a similar question. And I said, well, most CEOs of a mobile phone company, they actually don't want to be the CEO of a mobile phone company. They want to be CEOs of Netflix or Google or something sexy, not a mobile phone company. We want to be shopkeepers. We want to feel the intensity of the people. And that's why the vast majority of our people, and 100% currently in Colombia, are on our payroll, because that gives us commitment to them and them a commitment to us. And surprise, surprise, we get higher productivity and better customer satisfaction, because those 1,200 people are the interface with the 50 million Colombians here. I'm not. I don't speak Spanish. My 1,200 people, they face the customer every day. And that's why they're on my payroll. So outsourcing has its place, but you've got to be careful that, and ask yourself, why am I outsourcing? Can I manage this better myself? Should I manage it better myself? And if the answer is yes, you should insource. And I've never in 30 years of telco outsourced my network operations stuff. Most people do. I've always managed it myself, and I've always had the salespeople primarily on my payroll, because we need to motivate, manage, and lead those big important processes. So I'm a big believer in I insource, and then I can get people living my values. Outsourcing is more difficult. They don't quite feel part of the company. Next question.
Right. Yeah, this is interesting. Lucas Amenábar says, "Congrats for your way of thinking and your fascinating way of conducting WOM. Beautiful culture, values, and business model, Tío Wom." I mean, it's interesting because there are no many CEOs getting applause from the audience nowadays. Not in Chile, maybe not in Colombia either. But is it possible to live these values in another organization, in every organization? I mean, what would the world would be like when 1,000 companies are living with this passion? Is it livable, a world like this?
I'm a positive individual. I believe, I have hope in humanity. And let's take this nasty word called capitalism, which is hot, certainly in Chile, and to be honest, I think it's about to become hot here in Colombia. Business leaders, it's so easy to do the right thing. It's so easy to just be, as a leader, to say what's right and what's wrong. It's so easy to say, it's wrong of me to be in business class when my guy who's doing the work is traveling in economy. We know that's wrong, but most business leaders don't do it. Now, I think in the last 2 years, and I believe because of the pandemic, there is a move by business leaders to be more sustainable. And for that, I mean sustainable and respectful of people. And I think there's organizations already in Chile that are actually looking to be more fair and to actually treat the staff better. I'd like to believe WOM's success and the way we treated our people and the way we were equal and successful at doing that means that more companies in Chile and hopefully here in Colombia will start to follow that example. I'd like to claim the credit for it, but it's not me. There is a move that says not just the words of our people are our best talent, but the fact is that people are the only differentiator. As I said, Claro, a movie star, can build base stations. It's time and money. That's all. It's the people that build those base stations that make a difference. Intel can run shops, but it's the people who run the shops. Are they proud of working for WOM or for Intel? That makes a difference. The shops are basically the same. But that intimacy, that respect for people, which should be available in every decision you make. You can't lie once and then, well, I won't lie again. Once you've lied, you've blown it. Once you've treated your staff badly, you've blown it. And I think CEOs are slowly starting to think that. But I can't deny the corporate excess of how big's my office? How big's my car? How many secretaries do it? When I was in Poland, I was trying to do a deal with T-Mobile, very Germanic company. They had a separate executive lift. I went into the separate executive lift to the executive floor, politely walked past 2 executive secretaries and walked into Klaus Müller's, who was the CEO of T-Mobile Poland, office, which was like bigger than the whole of my apartment. And I said, Klaus, when your product director has a really good idea on a Friday afternoon, does he run up to the executive lift, burst through the two executive secretaries, runs into the executive suite and tell you the idea. And Klaus Muller looked at him and said, "What do you mean, Chris?" Germans have never had a sense of humor. He didn't understand that you've got to be accessible. Corporate leaders like that should be dinosaurs. You have to listen to your staff. The most important people are the ones facing the customer. They're not the people sat in the corner office. And that's why I think there is a move to change. I think there are organizations in Chile making that change. And there are some business leaders, not enough at the moment, but it is happening. And I think the pandemic has realized that talent is important, and the way we treat people, and especially our employees, is also very important. So it's happening. It should happen quicker and more.
I have always loved the image of a corporate board of dinosaurs saying we have all under control and the asteroids coming on their backs. Thank you very much. Tatiana Gomez, she's the director of our business school in Universidad Gabriela Mistral. And she wants to know if, she says, young people have cell phones to access the internet and social networks. How do you see the entry of Starlink in the market? Is it a threat or an ally?
I mean, a couple of things really. When we say young people using cell phones, I get slightly nervous. You know, we do have a corporate responsibility to ensure that communication is done effectively. I think it needs to be managed. The pros and cons are difficult to navigate, but it needs to be navigated. One of my big worries is I'm connecting these unconnected villages. How will technology be? Will it be used to provide mobile health, mobile education, productivity, or will it be used to snoop on people? How will we use privacy? The digital age has a lot of challenges that we need to go through, and it needs to be managed. On the whole, I'm a technology evangelist, and I think it's positive. But I've got to say, it's not without its risks, and they need to be managed and regulated.
Mm-hmm. I have many questions. I could be here all night. You tell me when you are, if you have any other appointment or.
5 more minutes. Let's get
okay.
2-3 more questions in, and then
I'll let one. Wom's advertising surprised by being disruptive, sometimes even making heavy jokes of its competitors. Mm-hmm. Are you willing to being the object of a ridicule or a satire?
Yes. In fact, I was. Claro did a great advert of me smoking blue smoke. So yeah, I think humor has its place, and satire, as the polite word is. So I think if we are part of that, and we've done something wrong, or we've done something that needs to be told in a story-like way, yeah, I think we should. And I admit, Claro did one of me actually about 6 weeks before we launch. I put it actually on my Instagram. So if people want to check, you can check. I even put the Claro ad on my Instagram, and it got something like 6,000 views. So yeah, so I'm okay with that.
Okay. Chris, big companies and tech companies and telecoms too handle a huge amount of data from us. As a citizen, one would expect WOM to be our protector, to be much more responsible than other companies. What makes WOM different from other companies in that issue?
I mean, to be honest, I can't really speak bad about my competitors. I actually think in this space, all the telcos are regulated pretty strongly, as we should be. We do all protect our data very strong. We have obligations to the various governments I've worked, Colombia or Chile, where we do have to provide information if there's been through a judicial process. But protecting the data and cybersecurity, it's a serious issue all the telcos I know take it serious and spend millions of dollars on doing it. That doesn't mean we don't, all of us have our problems sometimes. I'm not aware of any major breach that we've had. I would say in that space, that is one where we don't compete for a competitive advantage. We all do everything we can to protect personal data. And that is an important factor for all our customers. And that's something that we all should continue to do. So I can't say I'm better or worse than the others. I think it's something that we all take very serious on that, and we all do as much as we can to protect that. I say there are some bad people out there who do try to hack, but hopefully we have the systems in place collectively to protect those.
A very good question there.
I would like to end with my last question. Some Wom advertising piece denounced corrupt politicians.
Mm-hmm.
What precautions with their advertising should a large company like yours have in countries such as Chile or Colombia, where there is social unrest or protests?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that you have some commitment with peace or stability or something like that?
I think what we do, and I think some of the advertising, the Wom, the word of mouth, we highlight poor leadership, and we highlight where poor leadership has had consequences. I mean, one of the ones that we did in Chile was your Home Office Minister, whose name escapes me, but we put him out there, who had been managing a hurricane and then flew to a rugby game in England on a corporate jet within half an hour of doing his job. I think it was in the newspapers, it was correct, and we highlighted it in a humorous way. I think that's fair game. And I always remember being on a panel with one of your ministers, and we're all summing up, and we're all saying, what do we learn and what do we need to do better? And your minister said, we used to fear the journalists. Now we fear doing something wrong in case one put us on social media. And that's got to be a positive for society. When politicians or business leaders start to think, oh shit, if I do something wrong, I could be the subject of a Wom video. That's got to be a positive for society. So if we can get the leaders to think before they make those arrogant decisions or those wrong decisions for personal gain, I think I'm doing a positive for society, and I think we should be congratulated for that. And we should continue to question our leaders, as I should be continued to be questioned as well. When you're a business leader or a political leader, you have a duty to do the right thing. And our leaders, all of us, need to do the right thing, especially in these days. The pandemic, the social unrest in both Chile and Colombia, we as leaders have a duty and a responsibility to do the right thing. Sometimes that right thing it doesn't give us the right result, but we have a duty to act correctly with our values. And the politicians or the business leaders, they know when they're doing something for personal gain. They know if they're doing it to satisfy their personal ego. They look at themselves in the mirror and they know. And that's what living the values is about. You don't do it. And I think it's correct that big business, and it's also correct that journalists in particular should highlight those types of poor leadership. And the citizens shouldn't be rioting on the streets. They should vote at the ballot box or vote in the constitution like Chile did 5 or 6 weeks ago. That's what should happen, that dialogue. But corporate companies like us should be seen to be doing the right things ourselves, and we should highlight the bad practices that exist. When I entered Chile, collusion was a big thing, and we highlighted it on, with the toilet paper or the tissue paper, toilet paper, the football. We highlighted it. We got 3 million views of those videos. That was a good thing for society. We want to be the voice of the little person. We spend $25 million advertising. It's nice if we're the voice of the little person, because the little person doesn't have $25 million to do some videos or to go on Instagram or TV. We do. And maybe we should use some of that money to highlight some of the social injustices that exist in all countries, not just Colombia or Chile, but in the UK too. And I think that's good when corporate companies do that. So we're not going to change.
That's right. Think before making decisions, you said. In journalism, we have an old saying, think before you ink. Think
Yes.
before you write something. And maybe that's the same.
They need to be correct. And I showed you the Ronaldo Instagram. It's about timing, but it has actually got to be something that happened. And then you make some humor of it. You make something that everyone knows is a joke. But that highlights some of the issues that we've got. It is about timing. And you do have to think before you ink, but not think too long.
That's true. Chris, thank you for your time, for your passion, for your sense of humor. We don't want to abuse of your time, your schedule.
Right.
Gracias a los que nos están escuchando. A nombre de la Universidad Gabriela Mistral, su escuela de posgrados, sus programas Advanced, la Escuela de Periodismo y Comunicaciones y de personal mío, les damos las gracias por habernos acompañado, por supuesto, a Chris Bannister por su energía y su tiempo. Un abrazo, cuídense mucho y nos veremos en una próxima edición.
Gracias. Buenas noches. Bye.
Buenas noches.
Oops.
Duro trae recompensas. Un mejor mañana depende de ti. Universidad Gabriela Mistral.